book friends, thanks for stopping by for today's video. Today's video is the second book in a duet. The book we're going to talk about today is Fall of the Stars in Love and War Book 2 by Monica James. Holy smokes, let's get right to it. If you read the first book, you know that this is action-packed. The second book picks up right where the first book left off, and oh my God, I was like, what is gonna happen? There is so much action in this book. I think I cleared some arteries with how hard my heart was pumping during some of these chapters. Of course, I should also mention that because it's the second book in the series, if you haven't read the first book, you might get spoilers. I apologize about that. As I always say, it's never my intention to give spoilers, but just know that as you're watching the video. Emeline, my Lord, this poor woman, holy smokes. Here's the thing. The lengths that Emeline has to go through to survive on a basic level is out of control. And because it's a historical romance, I really feel like, okay, yes, it's dramatized because it's a book, but this shit is real. Like, this stuff happened. We are so weak as people compared to our ancestors, honestly. What they had to go through on a daily basis, literally in love and war, the perfect title for this duet. Emeline has not stopped. Everyone is out to get her. Everyone is out to get Scarth. Everyone is out to get Ulf. Scarth and Ulf want to get each other. Scarth's not around. Like, where's Ulf? Where's Scarth? Who can she trust? She's alone. She has nothing. She has literally the clothes on her back. I mean, I cannot imagine. I don't think I have the survival skills that Emeline has. That's for sure. I loved getting the chapters from Scarth that we did. It's mostly dual perspective. We get a lot of Emeline, but we do get the chapters from Scarth, which I loved. I have to say that I was like really brokenhearted. I had no idea who she could trust. There were points, you guys, I didn't even know if she could trust. Like, I wasn't trusting Scarth or Ulf or Aiden or anybody in her life. Literally everywhere she turned, shit was going down. She could not stay out of the shit. We knew at the end of North of the Stars that Emeline is gone, and Ulf and Scarth are like, we got to go find her. And then as we pick up in Fall of the Stars, like I said, she is completely on her own. She only has the clothes on her back. She doesn't know who to trust. She's literally walking around by herself. She's so freaking smart, though, and resourceful. But there comes a point where they can't find her. They think she's like gone. And there's a chapter we get from Scarth's perspective, and you're like, oh my God. This is what he says. I cannot breathe. I cannot think. All I can do is look at the woman who deserved so much more. I wish we never met, I whisper, allowing my tears to fall. You deserved better than this. You always did. I failed you, and I will forever bear that punishment. Hugreki, forgive me. Ooh, right? I really enjoyed how complex Monica wrote this book and the characters. The story has constant drama. I loved the twists and the turns. I loved seeing the new characters that came into Emeline's life and who left. I loved how cunning they all were. I loved and hated how I never knew who to trust. They're all backstabbing each other constantly. Well, not everyone. And literally how adaptable you had to be at that point in history to survive the day. And Emeline is completely adaptable. She goes toe-to-toe with the men. She goes toe-to-toe with the women. She is not gonna lay down and let them walk all over her. That is not in her spirit. And I loved that about her. Even when all looked like it was lost, she still found a way to get up every single time. Monica gets a little steamy. I was actually a little surprised. The tension between Emeline and Scarth, and then between Emeline and Ulf. Oh my gosh. And the part I'm going to share with you is a perfect example of that. It's from Emeline's perspective. If you wish me to stop, then now would be the time to tell me, because I am seconds away from tearing off your pretty wedding dress, as it offends me so. The word wedding has never sounded so dirty, and his jealousy has the fire inside me burning deeper and hotter. Well, your wife offends me, so we are equal, I suppose. A little bit later, say husband one more time, princess, I dare you. The world closes in on us, exploding in a fiery mess, because my words have cut Scarth deeper than any sword could. Yup. And lastly, the fire between us will never die, because our love is written in the stars. Yes, it was. There's a part that I was really twisted up about. I'm not going to spoil it, but Emily is forced to act on something, to do something. And it was a long time coming. I wondered if Monica was going to take us there, and she did. And while it's happening, you feel so devastated for her, but also she took the power in that situation and used it for good. She tapped into feelings that she knew were there, and she allowed herself to feel them. And she didn't necessarily use the other person, because the other person was kind of forced to be there as well. But it killed me at the same time. Like, it wasn't, I don't want to say I was cringing, but I was like, oh God, because I kept thinking in the back of my head as I'm reading this really steamy, pivotal moment in the book, you know, that allowed me to feel like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening. But yeah, in the back, I always knew that somebody was watching. Oh God, it was hard. It was, oops. It was very difficult to read. It really twisted me up. I didn't know how to feel about it. I loved and hated it in equal measure. These two men love her in completely different ways, and those ways feed her soul and make her feel whole. It just happens to be two people. At one point, Emeline says, my body responds how it always does when Ulf is near. It yearns for his touch, and I hate myself for it. I understood it. I understood where she was coming from. And then a little bit later, Emmeline's talking to Scarth, and he says, I do not want to go, he confesses. Bad things always seem to happen when we are apart. And it's so freaking true. It's the whole two books. Bad things happen when they're apart. And then a little bit later, in the heat of the moment, they say these things to each other. And there must be light to appreciate the darkness, I conclude, understanding him completely. For if not for the darkness, we would not be able to see the stars. And he says, you are my sun and you are my stars. And how freaking perfect is that, right? And that's one of my favorite sayings ever. You are my sun, my moon, and all of my stars by E.E. Cummings. So much so that shameless, I made a notebook. Wow, it looks really big because of where I'm holding it. But I have a notebook. I made a notebook that says that. How cool was that? I have so much admiration for how Monica wrote Emeline and what women had to go through during that time, and the strength and the perseverance they had to have literally to survive. She is so kick-ass. When everything was against her, she held her chin up and figured out a way around things. It made me wonder about all the women during this time and all through history that were just like this character that we've never heard about. Because history is all about the men and man's accomplishments. What about all those freaking women? To quote Monica's words, Emeline is independent, strong, and fierce. The last chapter or two in this book, oh my God, the stress. There's so much action. There's so much action in this whole book. But the last couple chapters, oh my God, I had no idea how this book was going to end, you guys. And I wonder if you feel the same if you read it. It was like, what the flying fladoodle is going to happen? And it literally took until the epilogue, till my heart calmed down. I didn't realize that I was holding my breath until I literally exhaled and finished the book. Oh, Monica takes us on quite the journey in this book. I am here for her historical romances. You know I love her already. She knocked it out of the park with this duet. So good. Had us holding on till the end though. Wasn't really sure where we were going to end up. I have to give her credit for that. Let me know if you have read North of the Stars or Fall of the Stars. You know I always love to hear. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.